Hi again. We're going to talk about Chapter 7, and this is week 4 of our Competitive Marketing Strategies class. Chapter 7 talks about branding and positioning, which I briefly talked about in the last video from Chapter 6. But branding and positioning is an important factor for organizations. I mean, it's a make or break deal for products to get the consumer to actually understand and recognize a brand and then want to buy it and feel like they want it. But if you think about yourself, I know I talk about this when I teach this class in person to students, but think about your own particular brand. Who are you? How are you representing yourself? And you know, a lot of times when people are in school, they don't really think about the fact that they're developing sort of a name for themselves. But think about that in the long term, because that's going to be informed by your values, by your aspirations and dreams that you want to fulfill in terms of your career and your education. And branding itself is something that all of us have a brand. You participate on social media. How, in fact, are you informing other people about your brand? And is it something that you are doing a good job of, or is it something that you're doing maybe an awkward job of? Think about that. So there's lots of different components of branding, and organizations, if you think about somebody like Oprah Winfrey is an amazing brand. She's a person. She has a lot of history in terms of what she has done in her career, but she's an amazing brand. She doesn't even use her last name. She doesn't even use her whole name. She uses O, you know, and most of the time if we said O, you would know who we were talking about. So there are different issues that manufacturers need to think about when it comes to branding. Is there automatic recognition of their product or identification of a product based on the packaging or other components of it? How does your particular product compare, of course, to competitors? That's a key thing that you need to be worried about or concerned about in terms of differentiating itself. Or how have you described your brand so that there are no competitors? Another key issue is, how does your product stack up in terms of efficiency for the user? What is it that they're concerned about with? What kinds of ways can you brand your product so they're not afraid of buying it, or that they would be feeling like there's less of a risk to purchase this product compared to something else? How well do the consumers accept your product? And they would accept it because you've essentially marketed it in a way that truly fits in a custom way or a clean way with how they want to use the product. They accept it because you've marketed it well to what their needs are. Then how does this particular product reflect the image of the user? Is there something that you can say or do about your product, because it's an important thing to do, that is reflected in the image of the user? Or is there something about your product where your consumer is so brand loyal, they wouldn't consider any other kind of product? When I was growing up, my dad bought Volvos. They weren't the cheapest car. My dad even couldn't afford Volvos for most of his life, but later on he just started buying Volvos. I don't know, he just thought a Volvo was the car that he needed to have, and he bought it from one particular guy in Palo Alto. That's where he bought the car dealer. So there are lots of different ways that manufacturers could consider and try to gain loyalty of their user. And we're going to talk more about this in I think the last chapter of the book, is ways to develop a relationship with your users so they continually come back to buy. But there are other considerations. Let's say that you want to establish a certain branding and you have a name that's specific for that product. So let's say it's a certain type of mayonnaise, and that name has just been out there forever. Or maybe you're developing a certain brand that's based on your store. So we know if you go to certain organic grocery stores, they have their own brand that they sell, and they position that to be a good value but a better price. So other issues that you would be concerned about with is what kind of equity or value does that particular brand have? And so, for instance, if you are talking about Oprah Winfrey, what is Oprah's Weight Watchers endorsement have to do with your brand? How does that bring value to your brand? How does that bring value to Oprah's brand? So those types of allegiances are things that you would want to be thinking about, especially if you're going to be maybe partnering with another organization. And sometimes alliances can be between certain types of brands that are highly well known. So we know that if you go to certain, what are they called, theme parks, you're going to have certain rides that are associated with movies, but they're within a certain scope that overall Disney has cultivated for its participants, its people that come to the theme park. But also think about the reason why you buy certain brands. Like, why do you buy certain magazines? Why do you drink certain coffee? Do you really think that Starbucks coffee is better than some other brand? And why is that? What have they done, or what is it that you desire or need in a particular coffee that Starbucks has appealed to and it has fulfilled your need? This is actually, I think this particular page is, the textbook talks about something from 2012. I think I found an even older version online, but there are different brands that are ranked in terms of their value. Now the textbook lists Apple as one of the top brands, and I think they've done a really good job of cultivating a certain image. In fact, if you were to go and do sort of a case study on the way that Apple represents their products and does advertising to consumers, it's very clean and it's very beautiful in my mind. But think about something else. Like, there's something on television now about an insurance company that wants you to rate your favorite insurance commercial. So I think it's Progressive or one of those where they've had a gecko and they've had other different types of images, humorous things. They have like a caveman. So different brands are trying to get you to pay attention to their names through different advertising and different activities that they do. Apple obviously has a pretty incredible founder who is their brand. Even though he's no longer with us, he still informs their brand. Google has a different type of brand, etc. So organizations put a lot of thought and effort into branding their product, and that often results in how valuable they are and how many users they have, or purchasers and consumers. So one of the obvious things about branding and getting people to remember your brand is how it looks, what the label says, what the actual package says. And I don't eat Ho-Hos or Twinkies anymore, but I do have a picture on this slide of Ho-Hos and Twinkies. And they've done something very specific about the way they make their little cupcakes look. But think about other things that you buy. What's your favorite ketchup bottle look like? And I actually have a link at the bottom of this slide to go to an article that describes different manufacturers and different brands and how they're very easily recognizable. I think that's like a 2016 article. So take a look at the link at the bottom of this slide. But there are different unique factors that you would, of course, be focusing on depending on your product. Maybe it might have to do with first ready identification of something. And if you think of the red bullseye, red and white, we know what that product is and what that immediate brand is that you think of when you see that. I'm kind of drawing a blank on anything else right now, but what you would want to be thinking about is ways to advertise and talk to your users about this product that would appeal to their needs and get them to either immediately recognize the shape of the bottle or the brand or logo that you've got on the product. So one of the activities that you're going to do this week is you're going to create a perception map. There's an Excel link in the assignment that I have set up for you. This is actually a discussion post, I believe. And what you're going to do is don't be scared of it, just have fun. Just start adding in different features based on the reading that you're going to do and create a perception map. So you might want to add things like natural flavors, or you might want to add calories or 0 calories. And what you're doing is you're trying to put together something that's positioning for a certain type of drink compared to its competitors. And that has to do with what I talked about in the last lecture, which is how does your overall product stack up against the competition with respect to whatever features you want to compare it by. And positioning is important. How would a ketchup manufacturer position itself against other ketchup manufacturers? What are the ways that it would do it? Would it be on the shape of the bottle? Would it be on the taste of the ketchup? Would it be on the age and sort of the historical story that they've cultivated about the product? So perception maps are really an important thing to do, and you could create a perception map for your company, for your final project compared to other competitors, and see how you stack up. It's one of those things where there's sort of no right or wrong way to do it. And if you think about it, you're kind of doing it blind in class. So think about when you're creating a perception map, you're a person that actually works in marketing. You understand what's happening in the industry. You understand your product and your customers really well. So if you were working in marketing, positioning your product as something that you would be fairly comfortable with doing, this is just a great tool that you'll get some experience using and working with, so you can visually see how your brand stacks up against other brands with respect to whatever features you choose. Now, branding advantages are listed on this slide. I've already talked about a lot of these, but let's say that you are essentially trying to figure out ways to uniquely position yourself so that the user really identifies with it. And for certain luxury brands, they are closely marketing, or they're tying their brand to someone that's an opinion leader. And I think even ITU and other organizations want to do that. They want to have faculty members or people speaking about their particular organization that would have a lot of followers, that would in fact inform their followers about the value of this particular brand. So cars or particular types of shoes or colognes, those types of things, manufacturers a lot of times will tie the brand to someone that's well known or is a well-known face that has a certain lifestyle that they want their users to identify with. But you also might want to maybe have some sort of particular unique product yourself that, let's say, is an in-store brand, like we talked about the grocery store that had a certain brand that they sell. It may be that if your perception within that particular store is that the product is more valuable, has higher quality, or has a lower cost but a high quality, then the people that are purchasing those particular canned goods at Whole Foods say, I know this is coming from an organic grocery store. I know that this price is competitive. It's not the lowest price, but it's not the highest price, and therefore I want to buy this product because it meets with the things that are important to me, such as organic, etc. Now, a while ago, there was a kind of an interesting thing that happened online, and it was a picture that was shown of a particular dress. And when you're differentiating against competitive products, a lot of times the most important thing is not really what the product does, but what your customer perceives it to be doing. So in this case, the pictures on this slide show a dress that is sort of a cream color or gold color with a white or silver stripe in it. That's the picture that appeared, I believe, on Facebook or Instagram, somewhere in social media. But when people looked up the product and actually saw the product online, they saw the blue and black dress. So something really, really happened there between whatever it was that was in the advertising picture and what the actual product was. The key thing that I do remember when I was in marketing is that your product might be a certain way, but if you don't create a certain perception, and if you don't actually look at what the perception of the users are of your product, you're going to be way off. So if people don't understand how your product works or what it's supposed to look like, that's your fault. You need to create some sort of true and realistic picture of your product, and then whatever they think it is, that's actually the reality. So that might sound like sort of a convoluted story that I got you to this place with, but I remember very often, compared to our competitors, our customers did not understand the benefits of our products, but that was our fault. We needed to be positioning our product, selling it, and branding it in a way that the people that were using our products really understood the unique features compared to the competitors. It made us really angry too, because we thought nobody really understood what our product benefits were and what our product features were, but it was really a function of our marketing protocols and our marketing plans. So another thing that will affect sort of how you brand and how much money you spend on a product is just that age-old thing that talks about the product life cycle. So in your book, there's again a chart on the product life cycle and how manufacturers would behave within certain periods depending on what phase you are launching your product. So if you're looking at the development stage, you're not going to be spending a whole lot of dollars in marketing the product. You're putting the dollars into actually creating the product, making sure it works the way it needs to. Of course, you would be informed by market research and other data analysis that you did on the product, even on customer purchase patterns or other things like that. But moving across the slide, in the introduction phase, you're going to be doing very specific things in terms of trying to get people to be aware of your product. So you might be spending a lot of money advertising and promoting it because nobody knows what your product does yet, and you're going to probably be trying to differentiate it against the competitive products out there. As you move up into the different phases, which would be growth, maturity, and decline, your dollars are spent in a different way. As you move into like the growth phase, you're trying to get more people within the market or within a certain segmentation to buy it. So you want to increase your market share. At first, you're just trying to establish someone buying the product and having the product. Then you're spending your dollars and your branding in a way to try and either increase where they purchase more units or more people within a particular segment or users within a certain segment are using the product. When you move across towards the maturity phase, you're trying to make sure that you defend your product in a branding fashion. You defend your product against competitors. Your product is mature, but you might have loyal users at this point, and what your dollars are spent on in terms of branding is to reinforce that the customer or consumer is making the right choice in buying your products compared to the competitors. And then towards the last part of a product life cycle, if you've got something that is actually declining in terms of its use, you need to be marketing a way that is trying to squeeze out as many people as possible, maybe those long-term users, and you talk to them and brand in a way that describes their loyalty and tries to reinforce that their product decisions that they make are important or intelligent, and try to continue the use of that product as much as possible before it's discontinued or it's obsolete. Okay, we talked about branding and positioning. You guys are going to have a project or an assignment this week where you're going to do some positioning. And I'm repeating myself, but just continue to work on your signature assignment. Try to keep up with the weekly assignments. And if you have any questions about the individual assignments, sometimes I will assign you to write a paper on a particular topic, but sometimes I ask you to create slides. It's only because I want you to get in the practice of giving some sort of different output. Sometimes slides you can get directly to the point. You can maximize what it is you want to say on a slide and not have to write a whole lot of words. But I just want to thank everyone for your participation. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.